Hello and welcome everyone to Faire's Toronto office. I'm Jeff. I'm one of the engineering directors here based out of this office as well. We're very, very excited to have you here all tonight and hear about product engineering directly from some of the team members. So let me get started. So some housekeeping first. Reminder, please check in, show your name tag at all times of visiting. Help yourself to some food and drinks. I tried one of those cookies. It's like a sugar injection, so be very careful with those ones. And then we offer office tours. Speak with one of our team members, people in a Faire t-shirt. Will help you get an office tour later on. And then there's QR codes on the tables. You can scan those and learn more about Faire and our careers website. And then to help us keep on schedule, return to your seats. We're going to have a quick break throughout the evening. Return to your seats quickly after intermission to keep us on track. So here's our agenda for tonight. We'll start with some tech talks. We will have a quick 10-minute break. Then we'll hear from the recruiting team, have some more talks with a Q&A from all of our awesome engineering team later. And then we'll do some networking around 9 o'clock, around 7 o'clock. Okay, so what is Faire? If you're not familiar with Faire, we are a wholesale marketplace that connects retailers, which are stores, and brands, which are makers across the world. We're helping real people and businesses succeed globally. I think we're in 35 countries right now. We have lots of users in Toronto. In fact, all of my slides today are photos from retailers in Toronto. You may have actually visited some of these already. And we've been founded in 2017. We've raised $1.5 billion in funding from top VCs like Sequoia and Y Combinator. And we've led lots of recent press around our latest private valuation, which is $5.2 billion as of this month. We're also ranked on the Fortune 50 list, which is recognized as one of the fastest growing companies to watch. In our engineering team, we're over 300 engineers strong, spanning product, infrastructure, data, and IT. We have people based in Toronto, Kitchener-Waterloo, San Francisco, and also remote. A lot of our team are here today, so don't be shy. Come up and grab them, ask questions. They love talking about technology and what it's like to work at Faire, so please come and ask some questions. And then if you're also curious about some of the engineering stuff we're doing, check out our website, faire.tech. You can go check that out. And we're also hiring. The recruiting team made sure I added this point. We're hiring. You can check this out if you go to faire.com/careers. And we also have members of our recruiting team here tonight to answer questions about the interview process if you're interested. So our talks tonight are about how we build with a strong product mindset. At Faire, we highly value engineers that have a strong product mindset and have a bias for customer impact. We have a QR code and every title slide. You can see it on the bottom right, and you can submit questions. We would love to answer any questions you have. So you can scan that with your phone and submit some questions. And as an extra fun moment, we have some trivia questions throughout the presentations. So you can win some backpacks and swag and totes. I think if you raise your hand, if you know the answer throughout the presentations, we'll give you some swag. So we hope you enjoy tonight's topics. First up to talk, please give a warm welcome for Juno and Nicole.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, everyone. My name is Juno. I'm a backend engineer on the Inspire team. Today, I'm joined by my teammate, Nicole, and together we'll walk you through how we power discovery on Faire's homepage. When a retailer logs into Faire, the first thing they see is the homepage, one of the most important and frequently visited surfaces across the entire platform. Originally, the homepage was a mix of static carousels. The top section reminded retailers to jump back in, while the bottom featured personalized content, refreshed through offline jobs. Imagine you're on TikTok and your For You section doesn't update until the next day. Very frustrating, right? After evaluating the current homepage issues with all the latest social media trends, we came up with the idea of having a feed, one that embraces vertical scrolling and responds to immediate signal. But how? Our team at the time had already been working on building real-time recommendations on the product page to find visually similar products. It allowed parallel retrievals and ranking based on our latest embeddings and models. We thought this feature is so cool. Why don't we just use it for the feed on the homepage? Our idea was quickly turned into action. We kicked off our first iteration, Home Feed 1.1, the MVP, to test out our theory. Thanks to reusable client components and, like I mentioned, similar product search, it only took us 1 week to implement the feed. This version leaned into mobile vertical scrolling behavior and replaced all of our horizontal scroll carousels and banners with a new product grid. The products are from a single targeted search, visually similar products, mostly based on recent product clicks. And these weren't just randomly selected products. They were carefully ranked so that whatever retailer we're most likely to engage with were ranked to the top. And the results were exciting. We saw a 16% increase in products added to carts from the homepage and 1.5 times more homepage views. These results validated our theory. The home feed is indeed the future, but the question was, could we take it even further?
And of course we can. We immediately started building our next iteration after launching 1.1. We started by asking our retailers for feedback. They loved the vertical scroll UI, loved seeing how reactive the feed felt, but it felt a little repetitive to them. They also didn't feel inspired or that the feed captured all the types of contents they could be interested in. So our team went back to the drawing board. We held a brainstorming session which involved all team members, engineers, designers, product managers, and data scientists. Each of the colors you see above represent a unique team member's perspective. We gathered valuable product ideas, voted on which ones we felt were the most impressive, and came up with a plan. We decided that we need a much larger and more diverse product set. So we were already pulling visually similar products from recent clicks in 1.1, as Juno described. But in 1.2, one of our data scientists suggested using the retailer's cart as an even stronger signal of what products a retailer is interested in right now. So we found the top categories of the products in their cart, personalized the search via embeddings, and got new recommendations. But that's not all. We wanted to capture the long-term history of what our retailers love to shop for. Our data science team created embeddings that were trained on a retailer's historical engagement data. We used these to add even more products to our candidate set. And finally, two of our engineers in a meeting came up with another great idea. Given the taxonomies or types of products a retailer shops for, we can find complementary taxonomies and build personalized recommendations using this. So if a retailer recently bought candles, they might want some candle holders too. Then we augmented this set finally with Faire's bestseller products, but narrowed down to the category of products a retailer shops in. And we launched this version of the home feed to both mobile and web, and the results were incredible. This was one of the biggest wins ever on the homepage, but we'll keep you guessing for now on what that metric X will be. Because we wanted to keep improving the feed. And this time, we had 2 months of data to guide us. Our strategy and analytics team performed analysis on the data we had gathered, and what we found was that we needed to remove even more stale content to improve the user's experience. So we came up with a new set of business rules. We removed a few types of products, ones that they had seen before on the feed, any that they had seen multiple times on other surfaces, and any from brands that they'd viewed a few times but never chosen to order from. We use Elasticsearch filters and product downrankers to achieve this. And we shipped this iteration after 1.2. And so now we've launched 3 versions of the feed, as you saw, across all our platforms. I'd love for you all to take a guess on how much you think we increased products added to cart from these experiments. Raise your hand if you think you know the right answer. Go ahead. See, that is correct. So as our swag winner guessed correctly the first time, I wasn't expecting that. We increased add to carts via the home feed a whopping 110%. But we're just getting started.
Of course, Of course, the current home feed has been amazing, but there are many areas we can explore beyond the current version. New users are important. We want our new users to love exploring on Faire and eventually placing orders. but they don't have many real-time signals nor any previous orders. So they should have a separate treatment. The recommendation should be based on predictions, mostly come from store types or pre-sign up information. Next, we'll also try out different content. So it's no longer just about products. Instead of a single plain scrollable grid, we can try to blend in new layout to tackle with fatigue. Well, if you're tired of seeing so much information on tiles, no problem. Let's just make them image only. Moreover, we also want to make the feed react as a retailer browses around, and also make it infinite scrollable so that our retailers can stay inspired, well, as long as their screen limit time allows. With that, thank you for listening. Join us and let's build the discovery at Faire together. If you have any questions, feel free to scan the QR code, send it to either me or Nicole. And now I'm going to pass it over to Chinmaya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chinmay, a senior backend engineer on Fulfilled by Faire, and I'm going to take you through our journey of building the Faire fulfillment pilot. Let's start with some high-level context on a wholesale marketplace. Similar to normal orders on Amazon, a wholesale marketplace has buyers, we call them retailers, and sellers, we call them brands. When a retailer orders from a brand, someone has to pay for the cost of fulfilling the order. That is, the cost of getting the order from the seller's warehouse to the buyer. This can include the packaging material, the actual shipping carrier label, boxes, and any other costs associated with getting the order from the seller's warehouse to the buyer's location. So, trivia question for some Faire swag. On average, what % of a brand's order value goes towards the cost of fulfilling the order? So if a retailer orders worth $100, how much does the brand spend on fulfillment related costs? Does anyone think they know the answer and want to guess? Yes. B, it's a little, yeah, you're right. It's actually a huge 10 or 15%. Brands usually have razor thin margins in wholesale with profits around 10%. And so any margin saved on shipping costs is huge to them and can make a massive difference in profit, enabling them to curate even better products for their buyers and make products more accessible. So why does Faire even want to get into fulfillment? And how can we help our customers? Before Faire fulfillment, if a buyer ordered from multiple sellers, each of those sellers would have to send a different package to the buyer. This resulted in multiple small packages from different places, ballooning shipping costs. This is illustrated really well with the diagram on the right. Each line here represents a different shipment. Further, buyers need to follow seller-specific minimums and contend with varying delivery times. We knew we could make shipping cheaper for our customers and the buying process even more seamless. With fulfillment, sellers send their inventory to a centralized Faire warehouse, where products from multiple brands are housed together in one place. When a retailer orders from multiple brands, they get one single package with all their products. This can massively reduce shipping costs. Further, retailers don't need to deal with order minimums anymore and can reliably get their orders really fast. This is illustrated by the much simpler diagram on the right. Compare this to the earlier one. Simplicity here and fewer lines truly translates to cost savings for our customers, making products more accessible. So, recognizing the opportunity, we decided to invest in fulfillment and launch a lean pilot to quickly validate our most core and riskiest assumptions. We wanted to prove out three things: that we could get a variety of brands to adopt our solution with economically viable benefits, and that they were excited to join. Operationally, that we could fulfill cost effectively and reliably at a higher quality bar. And finally, that over time, this cheap and reliable shipping experience would make more retailers order from Faire fulfilled brands, driving brand growth. As we dive deeper, we realized that formulating requirements for a viable pilot was going to be extremely challenging. Fulfillment was new to Faire, and so we didn't have a ton of in-house expertise. We relied on conversations with our brands to determine the most crucial requirements. As brand conversations continued, it became clearer that their processes are extremely fragmented, with different brands following really different process and so different P0 requirements. One of the most challenging parts of the project was to determine what we truly needed in the MVP to reliably fulfill on behalf of brands. And so we started grouping requirements into core, manually manageable, and deferable. We also aligned that our pilot would be for a single digit number of brands, making these trade-offs feel a lot more viable. At the very core, we needed to receive, store, and fulfill. So we had to, one, enable brands to send inventory from their massive product catalogs to us. Two, when we received these massive inbound shipments, we had to organize and store them effectively. And finally, and possibly most importantly, we needed to ship out products on behalf of brands when we got orders from retailers reliably and cost effectively. It became clear pretty quickly that as much as we wanted to build an entire warehousing and shipping operation ourselves, this would not be viable for a pilot. So we biased towards finding a third-party logistics provider that we could partner with, also known as a 3PL. What is a 3PL? A third-party logistics provider, or a 3PL, is a company that manages the shipping, warehousing, and delivery of products. In simple terms, a 3PL handles all parts of getting an item from where it is made to the customer who ordered it, allowing Faire to focus on other things like sales and product development. In our case, it was crucial to partner with a 3PL that was tech-enabled so we could closely integrate with the APIs. A large part of my focus at that stage was to make sure that the 3PL we partnered with had really comprehensive APIs. To choose a partner and understand the potential flows, we visited warehouses more than 4 times in the first month. And finally, a month later, we had chosen our partner. After we chose our partner, the focus quickly shifted to execution. We were grounded in the fact that this was meant to be a lean, low-scale pilot meant to validate our assumptions, and so wanted to find innovative ways to reduce scope and accelerate our learnings, hopefully enabling us to demonstrate the rationale to resource this bet further and build for scale in the very next phase. Crucially, we built comprehensive integrations with our 3PL partner to synchronize large chunks of data. Specifically, we needed to sync, one, a seller's products from Faire to the warehouse system, two, Faire orders to the warehouse system so they could be reliably fulfilled on behalf of sellers, three, shipment and cost syncs so we could get back shipment and cost information after the warehouse partner had fulfilled the order, and four, an inventory sync so we could stop selling products as they went out of stock and nudge sellers to send us more inventory. Further, we made some in-product changes. We drastically simplified the order fulfillment process for sellers, added reliable shipment tracking for Faire fulfilled orders, and expanded free shipping coverage when buyers ordered from these sellers. Here's an example of a seller fulfilling an order before fulfilled by Faire. Notice the number of steps here, as the seller needs to first select a shipping method, then add a package type, weights, dimensions, etc. They then choose a carrier, select any optional services they need, like shipment insurance or adding a packaging and handling fee, and then they go on to buy the label. Finally, they need to actually print the label, attach it to their package, and ship it out. Compare this to the post-fulfilled by Faire world. In this case, a seller basically needs to do nothing to fulfill an order, just ensuring that they send the warehouse enough inventory once a quarter or so to avoid running out of stock. In this screenshot, you can see the change with no action required from the seller to fulfill an order. So how long did we build this in, and what resourcing did we have? This entire project was built and delivered between January and May 2025, making this a 5-month cycle from green light to go live. By Feb 2025, we had ironed out on a 3PL partner and started development, while simultaneously conducting brand interviews. March and April were mostly heads down execution time, and by the end of April, we had started feature testing. We went live with our first brand in the end of May 2025. I want to touch on why this project was hard. Firstly, it was really challenging to figure out what was truly required for the MVP. Brands have really different fulfillment requirements, resulting in many priorities that seem P0 at first glance. Second, as the technical voice on the table, Determining when to be scrappy versus building for scale was crucial, but also really difficult. We wanted to deliver a pilot fast, but didn't want to risk reliability and quality of our brand's fulfillment flows. Third, we had lean resourcing for the pilot with just one dedicated full-time engineer working on it. We didn't have dedicated product and design support, and so we often had to switch between wearing engineering, PM, design, and solution architect hats. This was a lot of fun. And finally, we had rapidly changing requirements. Since this project was very much 0 to 1, we were truly just figuring it out. Fulfillment was kind of new to all of us, and each brand conversation resulted in many new ideas and occasionally the legitimate blocker, making us pivot and iterate fast. So, how did the pilot go? We were able to validate our most crucial core assumptions that brands were excited about Fulfilled by Faire and that we could fulfill their orders reliably. In our first 6 months, Faire has already fulfilled more than 15,000 orders for 41 brands, with many more on the way. Here's a quote from our first brand, Hemlock Park, who's been delighted with their experience on Fulfilled by Faire and happy that they can focus on curating products for their buyers. Given the success of this pilot, we are investing deeply in the program in 2026. We're investing in building foundational tech and many more integrations with our 3PL partner to scale the program and are adding many more brands. We're making significant changes to our checkout and product discovery flows on the buying side, enabling retailers to buy from multiple Faire fulfilled brands with one single minimum, launching a new program called Faire Source. We're growing the team significantly and now have 2 fully staffed pods in fulfillment with 10 engineers and dedicated product design and data support. And finally, as promised, we're paying off the tech debt we took on to deliver the pilot fast to enable us to scale. To close out, I want to share some key takeaways and learnings from this project. First, I think it was crucial for us to not over-engineer for the pilot. We voiced shortcuts aggressively and obsessively logged tech debt. Second, we followed the principle of decide fast, revisit when needed, and document always. Prioritizing two-way doors to keep optionality and momentum high, and try to circumvent one-way decisions wherever possible. Third, we ruthlessly prioritize the critical path. By isolating only the core flows, prototype delivery and learnings were accelerated, ultimately enabling a faster go or no-go decision. And finally, and I think most importantly, we realized that context truly does cut scope. When engineers engage directly with customers, we can use technical intuition to identify high leverage solutions, maximizing impact and minimizing code. Thanks so much for listening in. Please scan the QR code if you have any questions. And I'd now like to hand it over to Spencer to talk about bringing Faire to iPad.
Thanks. You're in the storefront. You're the owner of a boutique, farm-to-table, locally sourced birthday card store. And you just blew out the candles on $1 million in sales. You reward yourself by purchasing the latest iPad Pro. Turning it on, you remember how Faire Wholesale helped you get to this moment. Excitement fills you as you think of the power of browsing Faire on iPad. You tap on the Faire icon to open the app, and then you see this shit. Hi, I'm Spencer Edgecombe, Senior iOS Engineer at Faire. Today I'm going to talk about how I stepped outside the boundaries of engineering to fix our iPad app. It pains me to say that this was our app back in 2022. Then we thought that supporting iPad would mean that for all new features, we would need separate designs, unique implementations, and double the QA. Challenging this, I led a prototype with a unique layout. First, I used a UI split view controller for the route navigation. This allows you to specify an alternate view controller for compact layouts. So we can show a sidebar on iPad and a tab bar on iPhone. This also meant that on iPad, our 5 root screens would have wider layouts. However, I also added a second UI split view controller to each of the root views so that any further navigation presents in a trailing sidebar. This means that only the 5 root views would require separate layouts for iPad, while all others could use their existing iPhone designs. This drastically reduces the burden of supporting iPad. Trying to get this prioritized, I looked at our analytics. Now, Faire's main business metric is order volume, the dollars spent on Faire products. Mobile would look at order volume from orders placed on the native app. And I found that only 2% of order volume came from iPad. So I concluded that it just wasn't worth the effort. For 2 years, I stared at this, crying myself to sleep every night. Until March 2024, my team didn't have any iOS work planned, so I had free reign over what projects to work on. And something didn't sit right about the iPad metrics. You see, we were looking at orders placed on iPad, but many retailers will browse for products on the native app and then place the order on desktop. And moreover, who would want to place an order on this pile of garbage? So I looked at the bigger picture. How much order volume comes from retailers who would ever browse Faire on an iPad? So about 6% of retailers had used an iPad. Does anyone want to guess what percent of total order volume these retailers account for? Show of hands. Aha. Close enough. Get a swag. Yeah, give him a hand. So 11% of total order volume. I mean, we weren't going to go until it got it right. So yeah, so these retailers, despite only accounting for 6% of retailers, spent 11% of total order volume and also spent twice as much compared to retailers who don't use iPad. Fuck yeah. So I brought this to my manager and he coached me on how to get buy-in from leadership. I would write a doc with 3 key points. Opportunity. I needed to highlight the problem with our app and why it matters. Cost benefit. I needed to prove that the engineering effort is negligible compared to the impact. And then why now? Argue that delaying this work would be a detriment to Faire's business. First, looking at the opportunity, I simply put the figure 11% of total order volume next to a screenshot of our clearly bad UX. Next is estimating impact. Now, opportunity sizing isn't about precision. Pull what you can from product analytics and map it back to the problem to approximate the gains. So first, I looked at iPhone. Now, retailers who use the iPhone native app more than the mobile web app spent 94% more order volume. Now, tying it back to iPad, the brand app was a lot simpler than retailer. So they had already released iPad support. Before launching, 46% of brands use the iPad native app more than mobile web. After launching, this jumped by 26%. Assuming that the retailer iPad app sees the same 26% increase in native app preference, and those users spend 94% more order volume, we can expect a 10% increase in order volume. Now, there's a lot of assumptions made here. So we apply a 10x haircut, meaning we divide that figure by 10 for an estimated 1% increase, which is a very attractive number. Next, I needed to simplify the engineering design. The original sidebar approach was too expensive. So instead, I went with our existing iPhone layout, and I aligned engineers to be okay with awkward layouts on iPad and build highly reusable solutions to the major issues on large screens. One of the key components was the tile grid layout repository. This would respond to changes in the app's horizontal size class to show more columns of product tiles on wider layouts. This made browsing products on iPad really nice. And finally, why now? Well, this user segment was too important to risk churn, and the low engineering cost allows us to drive quick impact. Putting it all together, leadership prioritized this as the highest priority mobile initiative for the quarter. Now, implementation was easy, but in order to launch, I had to improvise when resources were limited. First, when we were trying to release on time, I needed to create the screenshots for the App Store myself in Figma and translate them to 9 different languages. Then to launch the app, I wanted to do a go-to-market campaign. And this meant finding stock images, writing the copy myself, and begging a backend engineer to take on the work in their spare time. And here it is. iPad users now contribute 1.5 more percentage points towards total order volume. Order volume per retailer has increased by 11% on iPad, and 4,000 more retailers have joined my iPad cult. Since launching iPad, the iOS team has since almost eradicated UIKit from our app using an architecture built on SwiftUI, the observation framework, and Swift concurrency. Adopting these new technologies has allowed me to sneak in modern split view layouts into major features in our app, such as Faire Messenger. I plan to continue optimizing for iPad as our app evolves. Now, this project was a success because engineers at Faire are empowered to think like product owners, challenging old assumptions, digging into data, and building simple solutions that deliver real value. We're looking for engineers who want ownership, care about craft, and enjoy shipping experiences that people love. If you have an idea, we won't get in your way. Thanks for listening. Now, shout out to the QR code again. But we're also going to have a quick break. So now it's 6:20. Wow, it's clean. And we'll be back at 6:30 in our seats for the next few presentations. Sweet.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Sandra, and I am part of the talent team here at Faire. I want to start thanking you for opening up our invitations and for RSVPing and for showing up tonight. It means the world to us that you actually made it, so we're very happy to see you. But before I jump in, I want to introduce you to my amazing colleagues here with me, Jasmine Fernandez and Trevor Moto sitting right here, who are also part of our talent team. We work closely together on engineering hiring, and we're really excited to meet you tonight. Well, you have already heard some amazing content from our engineers, and now I'm gonna walk you through a quick overview of what our recruitment process looks like and a few things that we love about working at Faire. My goal is to give you a clear picture of what to expect and to help make the process a little bit more approachable and transparent. So here is what our typical hiring process looks like for all engineering roles at Faire at the senior level. On average, the full process takes about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on availability. And the total commitment for the technical interviews is roughly around 3.5 hours. We start with a technical screen, which is a 60-minute over Zoom interview where you'll meet with one of our engineers that are gonna walk you through a problem-solving style problem together. And you're gonna code your solution live with them in the session with their support. It's more like a pair programming exercise. if everything goes well, we jump into the virtual on-site, which is the main interview or the longest one, which is a 2.5-hour interview that is broken down into an additional coding session, a whiteboarding systems design, and a values interview that it focuses on how you work with others. In this stage, you'll get to meet fellow workers here at Faire, and it's a great chance for you to talk to them, to ask their questions about their work, the tech stack, what they like about working here, anything really that you're curious about. So we really encourage candidates to engage and make a two-way conversation. And if the on-site goes well, that's when we can move and jump into what we call a team matching. Typically, we will match you to 2 or maybe 3 teams that are interested in you, depending on your expertise and the availability at the time that you finish the process. And it's an excellent opportunity as well to dive deeper into each team's mission, the project they're actually building, the challenges, and what kind of impact you could have at Faire. So this process roughly takes a couple days up to a week, maybe a little longer sometimes, but it is that's the average. And finally, once we find a good match and good matching team to your skills, we move into the offer stage. First, compensation package is very strong and competitive, and full-time employees receive a combination of above the market base salary plus equity of the company in the form of RSUs. We also offer a range of very cool benefits and stipends that support your life both inside and outside the organization, including wellness support. We also have learning budgets that are really fun to use, commuter benefits, work from home stipend, and some other ones. So we offer also catered lunches every day here at the office, which is our team's favorite, and a great incentive to come and hang out at the office. Before I wrap up, I want to quickly highlight some of the priority roles we currently are hiring at Faire. So right now we have openings across frontend, backend, mobile, both iOS and Android, data engineering, engineering management, and we have some other roles that are posted on our website. If you don't see any something that you're interested in here, you can also come and reach out to us. So if any of these areas align with your expertise, please feel free to come chat with us after the session. We love to talk to you or point you in the right direction. And I think that's everything for me tonight. Thank you again for being here, for your interest in Faire, for your time, for commuting in a snowy day, and enjoy the rest of the events. And I'm gonna hand it over to my colleague, Ed.
Hey everyone, I'm Ege. I'm a backend engineer in the Relationship Growth Pod, and today I'm going to be presenting a 50 times faster CRM with Elasticsearch. Brand CRM, or Customer Relationship Management, is a toolkit we offer brands to manage their customer lists. Brands can filter their customers using various filters, such as customers that added to cart 30 days ago, and can kick off one-time marketing campaigns, schedule automated emails, or message even them directly on Faire. Here's a trivia for you. On average, how many emails do you think brands send per day through Faire CRM? You got it right. Yes. Yes, the correct answer is 2.5 million emails per day. That's a lot of emails. Okay, so this CRM tool seems to be widely used by brands. So what's the problem? The problem is it can be very slow, especially for our larger brands, those who have hundreds of thousands of customers. It becomes very slow to just load the customers page, yet alone apply filters. This can also result in marketing campaigns not sending a lot of CX tickets and a blocker for future real-time features. So let's dive in. What's making it slow? Firstly, brands use CRM as a query builder platform. We offer more than 60 filter variations for brands to build on, and this becomes very difficult to have covering indexes for each scenario in our RDS setup. Another product requirement we have is that we want to store product order history per customer. And whenever a customer filter is combined with an order history filter, like customers in Canada that have purchased this candle from me, the chance of timeout for larger brands who have hundreds of thousands of customers with tens of thousands of orders per customer, it just becomes significantly higher for timeouts. So we have a couple of requirements. We want fast queries and no timeouts. We have a very high read and write throughput system. We want something scalable, maintainable, doesn't cost a lot of money, and ideally something we already use at Faire. So here's an exercise. Another MySQL solution is CockroachDB. Can we use it? CockroachDB is a distributed SQL database that can scale horizontally, and we aim to use CRDB for all our services on Faire, and CRM is a separate service. So would migrating from MySQL to CRDB would improve CRM's query performance here? Not really. The problem is for full table scans, a fan-out approach is usually even worse than querying a single node, because now you risk taking down multiple nodes if there's a timeout. Okay, what about Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch indexes all fields in the document by default. Inverted index is helpful for full text search as well as complex aggregation queries. Also caches commonly used filters and can scale horizontally. Sounds promising, but there are still some uncertainties. What about the order history per customer we were talking about? We have two options: maintaining one index and dumping in the order history per customer as a list field in that index, or maintaining a separate index. Looking at the data, we found that order history filters only made 1% of all filter usages. So we decided to not overwhelm a single index and have separate indexes instead. How do we balance indexing performance and recency? Elasticsearch has something called a refresh interval to batch writes into fewer but larger segments, and this ends up improving indexing throughput. During this refresh interval, though, the document may not be up to date. To extend a bit more on this problem, let's look at the retailer side first. If I'm searching a product on Faire and it doesn't appear, I may think that product is simply just not available on Faire yet. However, brands have lower tolerance for replication delay than retailers. If I'm a brand uploading a customer, then I want to filter or search for that customer. I want it to be visible immediately. So we decided to force refresh the index for brand-driven actions like customer uploads and deletes, and set a default index refresh interval of 60 seconds for non-brand-driven actions like retailer added product to their cart. This would balance our cluster's indexing performance. Most of our filters are also independent of each other, like country got a discount offer, retailer followed me on Faire, and they use different events as shown on the left. Rather than updating the whole document when any event is consumed, we can break our writes into partial updates, each determined by a specific calculator that is bound to the event scope. So that if a customer discount-related event has been consumed, we only update discount-related fields. This will save us I/O. So engineering-wise, our solution seems to make sense. Now, how can we convince our product partners that this is an effort worth pursuing? Only if there was a way we can evaluate our project's benefits without committing to the whole thing. We can run a quick proof of concept. Spin up a new CRM Elasticsearch cluster with the relevant indexes and their mappings. Find a couple of brands that are having timeout issues, and then populate the indexes for these brands by running a backfill. Now we can start testing. Now find some problematic queries for these brands and run the same query both in Elasticsearch console, and what we used was MySQL Workbench, and compare the results. Query times look very different. Almost 5.5 seconds for MySQL Workbench versus 50 milliseconds for the Elasticsearch console. And this proof of concept, we were able to do it in a week. So in a week, we were able to benchmark expected performance gains from our migration. Okay, so now we have product buy-in as well. Let's think about how we would roll this out to our brands. We have 4 main milestones: proof of concept, reads, writes, and shadow reads. We validated results are looking good at the end of each milestone. In this slide, I'm going to focus more on shadow reads, which I think is the more interesting part. We use shadow reads at Faire for larger infrastructure changes. For the call sites we are interested in, this will route traffic using a different thread to the new flow and compare the difference between the old flow and the new flow. The user will be still serve the old flow though. So then what's the benefit? The benefit of this approach is that if there are any new errors in the new flow, then those errors won't be user facing. So we can monitor and resolve those differences before starting actual rollout. Here's the brief timeline. We started with a design doc, got it approved, ran a quick proof of concept, started working on the milestones. We then enabled shadow reads on production, compared the data returned between Elasticsearch and RDS, and then once we resolved all the differences, we then start the gradual rollout in production. And now CRM runs on Elasticsearch. So how did we do? I think we did great. Comparing the performance before and after Elasticsearch, the results are quite huge. For our largest brands, CRM now loads up to 58 times faster than before. P99 latencies for loading customers and sending campaigns are down quite a bit as well, more than 8x. But this one is my favorite graph. This only looks at 8 brands, but in total, they had an order volume of more than $100 million on Faire. These brands are whale brands that engage most with our platform, hence they bring the most value to Faire. Loading CRM used to take around 5 seconds for them, and now you can't even see the line on the graph. It's under 100 milliseconds. We just improved their life of these brands quite a big time. So what are the takeaways? Number one is you have a say in your product roadmap. This was a fully engineering-driven feature, and we pushed to add it to the roadmap after surfacing how big of a problem this is. Do not overcommit before validating. Proof of concept helped us greatly with getting a product buy-in, and it only took us 1 week. And then we noticed that only 1% of filters were order history filters. That data helped us guide our decision around making it a separate index. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions. My team, nor my pillar, we're the owners of Elasticsearch, and finding subject matter experts to help with the feature helped us greatly with the project success. Thanks all for listening. I'm now going to hand it off to Elier, who is going to talk about the evolution of experimentation at Faire.
Thank you, Ege. Hey everyone, my name is Elier. I'm a senior front-end on retailer acquisition. And today I'll talk about how we evolve experimentation at Faire. Okay, so why do we even care about experimentation? Well, we found our smallest experiments have shown large impact. For example, this is what we did on sign up button. Basically, we just changed the copy from get started to sign up for free. And the result is quite surprising. We saw more than 3% lift by just using a different copy. So we know we need to run more experiments like that. But the problem is it can be very slow to set up experiment. So take the sign up copy as an example. We think it should just take like 10 minutes of engineer time to set it up, right? But actually, it will take us 1 to 2 weeks to set up experiments, and then another 2 to 4 weeks to run. So that's 4 to 6 weeks to get results and learnings. Okay, so how can we fix it? First, we ask ourselves, how can we ship experiments faster? Like, what if we can simplify the process and empower our non-eng teammates to launch experiments themselves? And secondly, we think, okay, if experiments need to run 2 to 4 weeks to hit power, is there any way we can get learnings faster? And this is where multi-armed bandits come in play, and I'll explain that in a bit. But first, let's take a look at the first problem. And The tool we choose to use is Builder, which is a codeless CMS. You can think of it as a visual editor for our website, where PMs, designers can directly update layouts or content. And they can preview the changes live, and they can just hit a button, publish, and push the changes to production. So by using Builder, we removed one of the biggest bottlenecks in experimentation process, which is us, the engineers. We no longer need to wait for engineers just to ship small variants. So by itself, it's already pretty cool. But we wanted to take one step further because the tool could still feel a bit intimidating for non-technical folks. And this is where our Figma to Builder plugin comes in. Basically, designers can just copy a layout from Figma and then paste it straight into Builder. Basically, the plugin works. How the plugin works is that it can transform Figma components to Builder compatible JSON data, and Builder can automatically recreate these components on front end. And because we've integrated our design system with both Figma and Builder, so all the components are automatically mapped to our internal components, like typography and buttons. These are all our in-house internal components. And just a quick reminder that this was built before the whole AI wave. There's no like AI involved in this tool, so feels like magic. And since we adopted Builder, we have 12 teams that are on Builder, and we shipped 37 experiments and features. Okay, so now we can create and launch experiments faster than ever, often without writing code. But that's just one half of the story. The next questions we have is, how can we get learnings from them faster? And this is where we move into continuous learning using multi-armed bandits or MAP to let experiments adapt automatically as they run. And before I explain how that works, how many people are familiar with experiments and A/B testing? Okay, oh, that's good. Just maybe a quick refresher on what A/B test is. So basically, we have version A, the control, and version B, our new idea or treatment that we want to test. We split traffic evenly between them and collect enough data to reach power. Basically, what it means is we are confident with the result, like which one performs better. So this is great, but there are two problems. One, if your treatment performs really bad, well, good luck, because half of users are stuck with it until the experiment ends. And second, if you have a lot of variants, say if you have 4 or 5 variants, it takes way longer to get a reliable result. So while this works, it's not exactly the fast way to learn or the kindest to our users. That's why we started using multi-armed bandits. And here's an easy way to think about map. Imagine you walk into a casino with 3 slot machines, and each one pays out differently, but you don't know which one is the best. A traditional A/B test would split your plays evenly across those machines, and you have to wait until the end to see which one performs better. But what's the point, right? You already use all your plays. But with map, it's smarter. It starts evenly, but as soon as it sees one of the machine pays out more, it will shift more of your plays there, meaning we can learn while we are running the experiment. We're sending more traffic to the better performing variant in real time. And just a quick comparison with traditional A/B tests. So on the left, we have A/B testing, and as you can see, the 4 variants gets the same traffic over time. But on the right, we have map, where the one that has the highest reward will get more traffic over time, and we will send the least traffic to the one with very low reward. Use the same example as the sign up button. So with MAB, if we want to have more variants now,
we don't need to run multiple A/B tests to get learnings. We can just put all the variants in one map test and get learnings much faster. Okay, so can anyone guess in H1 2025, how many experiments did my team conclude? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I found like all the answers are also, it's always C. Okay, we're not stopping here. So we're thinking how we can further improve this. And the natural next step is we're thinking, what if experiments could run themselves? And that's exactly what we're building next. A platform where AI can generate new copies, feed them directly into our map system, let it test and optimize automatically. So instead of having us manually setting up and monitoring every test, the system will propose variants, launch with human approval, and learn continuously. So if you're interested in building the future of experimentation, please join us. And next is Q&A time. I'm handing off to Chuckman.
Okay. Thank you, Adir. Chuckman here, engineering manager from the engineering platform pillar. I hope all the talks gave you a very good behind-the-scene look at some of the features we have built at Faire, and you enjoyed the talk. So now we're going to do Q&As. So if you have submitted questions already, we're going to do those first. And if you have not, you can scan the barcode now and then submit your questions. If we have extra time, we can take live questions from the audience. Okay, so first question. This is for Sandra. If you can come up. Yep. Okay, so do we offer fully remote positions?
Hello. We do not have any fully remote positions at this time. All our roles right now are hybrid. Some days at the office, some days working from home. Does that respond to the question?
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to the second question. I'll keep you here. Okay. Do candidates get the chance to pick which team they would like to join?
Yes, absolutely. That's why the team matching was firstly introduced. We used to hire people like engineers right after the technicals, and they will find out which team they were going. And we found that many engineers didn't like that. They wanted to know where they were going to be going to, what challenges, what kind of team. So that's when we introduced team matching. So usually you are paired to a couple of teams, and then you'll get to explore what are the teams, what are they doing, and then we'll give you the choice as to which of the two teams or three teams that you were paired to you'll like to join.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Okay, I'm going to go to the next question for Nicole and Juno about the homepage feed. So the question is, does feed recommendation take into account where the retailer store are located?
This is actually a very good question. I think localization has been one of our priorities at Faire, because remember, the future is local. And when we scoped for home feed, we actually did 2 steps of localization. The first one is in retrievals. Like I mentioned, home feed and product page, they share the same searcher. So all of our retrievals are actually localized based on trade zones. And apart from that, we also do calculate locations when we do ranking. So all this information is like locations, other types of information like promotions, they're calculated using our machine learning rankers. So 2 steps will ensure retailers will always see localized results.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Okay, a lot of questions just came in. Okay, Spencer, why don't you come up? This is a question for you. Did we use any third-party framework for chat?
This guy, third-party framework. Yeah. So when I was planning a chat, I believe Jeff, he was up here. He asked, if we were going to consider any third-party framework, and so I did look into that quite a bit. And if we were going to add any, what are they called these days? WebSockets to deal with the messages, then we would definitely look into third-party for that, because apparently trying to deal with those is very difficult. Don't have much experience in it though. But then for the UI. We also looked at some UI frameworks, and by we, I do mean myself. And I don't know, there was a little too much UI kit for my liking. And we'd actually done an on-site with my team where we were looking into Messenger and the improvements that we can make, giving the brands and retailers more access to like context. And we kind of like had a vision for ways you can interact in Messenger, and the third-party frameworks just wouldn't allow for the level of interactivity that I would have liked. So I went with a custom solution so that we could, have more Swift UI and be a lot more flexible in that sense.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to Chimai. You have several questions. Okay. How did you pilot the fulfillment process on a live system where only few brands will be piloted while others will fulfill the products themselves?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I think it was one of the challenges that I didn't mention in my presentation. So obviously, fulfillment was a really small part of our order volume even after the pilot launched, and so making sure that we didn't degrade any existing flows was like very much P0. And I think the way we did that is by using feature flags and then also demarcating at order creation time what fulfillment method it would have. So when an order was created, we demarcated it as whether it's fulfilled by Faire or not, and then the rest of the flows would like follow through. This resulted in like all the other non-fulfilled by Faire orders not being impacted by our feature, and like any risk was like contained to only those brands that were fulfilled by Faire. So I think it was a combination of like being deterministic at order creation time and using feature flags to gate the experience.
Right, I'm going to keep you here for another question. How do you handle returns within with a Faire warehouse sitting between the buyer and the seller?
Yeah, this is a great question. So Faire actually does returns slightly differently, and we've already had a returns warehouse from a long time. So when a buyer gets an order and they want to return it, we provide them a shipping label and we own the returns. So the returns go back to our warehouse. They don't go to the seller, and we can then choose to sell it on. So essentially for fulfillment, our returns continue to work the same way, with going back to our returns warehouse. Obviously over time, as the scales, we'll look to consolidate.
All right. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to have Alia come on up to take the last question. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of questions, and we aren't able to get to all of them. So feel free to grab one of our presenters at the end for if you have any questions. Okay, so for this last one, Alia, is there an unbiased period during experimentation with multiple variants? Or does higher volume go to a more successful variant immediately?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we start with even traffic. And in order to know if the bandits actually works well or it actually performs better than the control, we actually run an A/B test. So how the test is set up is for 20% of traffic is run as an A/B test. 10% will go to control, and 10% is with bandits on. That's how we can get confident that the bandits algorithm actually works. And then the 80% is with bandits on, but they're not included in the A/B test. And we just use that to train for the bandits algorithm to know which variant performs better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Adia. Okay, I'm just going to answer 2 questions very quickly because I know the answers. What is the language of choice for backend at Faire? So it's written mostly in Kotlin. And then the other question about Eng management interview process, is there live coding? No, we don't do live coding for manager. Yes, only system design and then values questions and leaderships. Okay, all right. Okay, so this concludes our presentation tonight. Thank you for spending your busy first day evening with us. You're going to receive an email in a few days to share your feedback for this event. But before we wrap up, I do want to give a big thanks to our wonderful presenters and all the organizers for this event. Thank you. The space will remain open until 8 o'clock tonight. So our team here and the speaker will be around. We also have a few hiring managers just around this area. So feel free to stay around for networking and mingle with others. You can grab anyone wearing like a Faire shirt or having this one of the hello I am name tag. If you have any questions. And you're also welcome to request a private office tour, but please don't wander around the office by yourself. When you're ready to head out, please return your visitor badge. Just dump out your sticker at the security desk and then exit through the main entrance. And thank you again for joining us tonight and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.